All right, man. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome once again to a new week. Welcome to the Daily Money Market. My name is Che Yusuf. We are actually bringing you a different analysis today. We are just trying to check it out in terms of Africa Market Report. It's been really long time since we check it out how the market is doing in terms of Africa. What we normally do in this Africa Market Report, we check it out the report from different sources and to see what exactly is happening in Africa in terms of the market. What are the increase in terms of inflation? Which areas is affected in terms of inflation? And again, what are the areas that are actually getting a little bit better? So we're gonna see if we're gonna have enough time to go through all of that. But yeah, man, the most aim is actually to check it out in terms of Africa Market Report. But because of we are in Johannesburg, South Africa, we're gonna have to check it out in terms of Johannesburg Stock Exchange, which is one of the biggest stock exchange in Africa, representing and standing in number one. So let's go check it out in terms of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange at the moment in terms of the price itself. How is it standing? All right, for in terms of the all share properties, it's actually falling at 0.52%, and 9,307 on all share property stock price at the moment. All share is sitting at 87,687, but it's just a little bit of gain in terms of 0.45%. Kept shareholder top 40 this morning it started to gain a little bit with the 0.52%. It ended up on a negative yesterday, but it gained a little bit again this morning. Cap shareholder way again 0.43%. Shareholder way top 40 sitting at 16,555, again 0.45%. So we're seeing a lot of 0.43%, 0.45%, gain of 58%. I think right now the shares that are still on actually on a low, it's sitting at 0.38% at the moment. 0.38%. It's tradable properties and all share properties. So I think because of the budget of Republic of South Africa is going to be actually announced it tomorrow, so that's why I'm seeing a lot of stocks, even the rand itself, to actually depreciate a little bit. But again, let's go a little bit deeper and to find out what exactly is going on and what is actually affecting this market in terms of Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Report what it says in terms of Johannesburg Stock Exchange. As of the March 11, 2025, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange JSE experiencing on a mixed performance, as we're seeing, on a when I was talking about how much all shares they are sitting at the moment. So some of them on negative, some we're seeing at 0.45, 0.43%, 0.58% in terms of the gain. So that's why it says this experience makes the performance influenced by both domestic as well as the international factors. So the market indicators I've already said, index is trading at 87,556 points, reflecting at 0.30% increase today. Over the past year, this index has grown by the 19.15%. The blue chip top 40 index remained relatively stable, showing a little change in terms of the recent trading scenarios. All right, from the currency pairs itself, currency and economic factors, the South Africa rand strengthened by approximately 0.3% against the US dollar, trading at 18.30 per dollar. This appreciation is attributed to a weaker dollar amid a global economic concern, uncertainty, and anticipation of US inflation data. So again, this week you might have the US inflation data, and there's a lot of economists that are very uncertainty in terms of what that economic data is going to come and what is going to interpret in terms of the strength or depreciation of the dollar. And we are seeing even in terms of the stocks itself from US, we are seeing a lot of negative, a lot of raids, a lot of depreciation in the market, again because of an incentive of investors that they are right now. So the same thing, what it does is the currency that you are betting against, that you are quoting against your currency, that currency, if it's depreciating, it gives the boost to your currency to start actually go to gain a little bit of percentage. Even as I said, the index itself, Dow Jones, S&P 500, all of them 2% down, 2.7% down, 4% in terms of Nasdaq down, pushing to actually 19,300, 19,000, and trying to break from those levels of 19,000 going to 18,000. Really, really bad when it comes to US economy. So waiting for the inflation of US as well that is coming this week. But again, that gives us the rand to gain a little bit with 18 rand 30 cents per dollar. That gives a little bit of a gain in terms of the percentage of 0.3%. So investors are closely monitoring the upcoming local budget presentation, which was previously postponed due to the disagreement with the coalition government over the proposal tax increase. This uncertainty has also tempered the rand potential gains. So again, because of the postponed of the budget, I remember I was listening to some of the analysts. They said the other countries that did what we just did in South Africa to postpone the budget to another day, it's way European country, and it was way long ago. Countries has been actually coming together, having the solution. The other issue also that have been raised recently is that look at what Germany did, having the coalition, but what makes the coalition collapse is because of the budget. Everyone from their party, they want to push their own agenda to make sure that they actually impose this budget, or they win some, so that they can favor their own constituencies, and they can favor them to actually vote for them for the following time. But they forget the strength of the currency of that specific country. So for example, German, at that time we saw German theta as the biggest index in there to drop. German currency itself also losing a little bit of momentum. That's what we actually saw. So we actually pretty much experiencing some sort like the same thing. The reason why, because of the corresponding of the budget. So the investors are closely monitoring what will happen now. Is it that this VAT issue going to be changed, or the VAT issue is still going to be remain the same? So even the corporate earnings as well, the Absa Group reported a 10% increase in annual profit, driven by the reduction in a retail credit impairment in South Africa. Other major financial institutions, including the First Rand Bank, Nedbank, Sanlam, have also reported a strong growth in a recent earnings, while grinding the experience of 68% declining in earnings per share price on that. So again, we're seeing the strength of rand actually help the companies that are actually in South Africa, that are registered in Johannesburg Stock Exchange, help them in terms of that companies that can now start gaining their earnings. But again, we don't know what really deeply make those companies to gain the earnings, because if I look at it, the Absa Group 10% growth because of reduction in retail credit impairments. So they reduct the retail credit, and other major institutions. So it's First Rand, Nedbank, Sanlam. So pretty much it's the banks, and that not really identify anything in terms of the economy itself, or in terms of the people, how they're going to afford the basket. So still, they as the report, it says that the analysts, they're still caution, they still don't really have go ahead to say let's pump it up money in this sector or let's put money in this sector. So even the analysis inside by JP Morgan downgraded the South Africa equities from overweight to neutral, sitting in concern over economic growth prospective and effectively of the policy reform. The brokerage expected the economic growth to remain below 2% over the next 2 years. That's really killing about that report. It's really killing us. If you think of what they're saying, that they're expecting the economic growth to remain below 2%. So the worrying part about the economy to not grow above a certain percentage or above 3% is that you started being identified as a stable economy when you are actually going above 3%. So when you are above 3%, that's where the investors, they get the confidence and start coming back to say that, okay, not coming back, well, maybe not, but start coming to South Africa to actually invest, because of they can see that growth of 3%. I was checking out some stats, countries like China has been sustaining over 5% growth, 4%, 4.5, 4%, 4.5 for a period of 2 decades, if I may remember with that report. For a period of 20 years, year to year, they've been actually giving the financial report of economic growth of above 3%. That is why it's actually one of the countries that are fighting with the US in terms of the global power, in terms of the global business, the global exchange, because of that type of a growth of percentage of economy. The US tried, putting the stimulus packages. I don't know if people remember, US announced billions and billions of dollars to pump it up and to people, so that people can be able to buy stuff. When you buy stuff, that means you're taking that money and put it into economy, you see. So US try that. I think I remember during the end of COVID, US people, they were getting paid over $1,500 every single month. That money was directly pumping the economy, but you can't pump the economy directly. You need to put it to people so that people can spend, so that it can have the records, and we can have this economic growth percentage that shows on a record that not the economy is actually growing. So that's what pretty much happened to US to boost up, and the China has been massive in terms of that. So there's a lot of countries that are actually doing well. Canada, they are trying. Japan has been fantastic. I remember making a video that a lot of people from China that live in China, although the economy is good, they live in China, going to buy goods in Japan and come back staying in China. So, for example, if you want to do the shopping, they'll just take a train to Japan, buy whatever shopping that they want to buy, or weekend shopping, Christmas shopping, whatever, and come back to China. People want to stock Japan, stock their product, come back. It was that time, that's when China has started to lose a little bit of momentum or a little bit of growth of economy percentage. But after that, the turnaround, they put also a lot of stimulus package. They put a lot of tariff to different countries. They allow also a lot of companies to come in China to start manufacturing electromobile cars. Tesla was there. BYV is there as well, which is one of the companies in China. They allow companies to come and open to produce chips like Nvidia. Biggest companies are there, Apple. So from there, they started now gaining their economy percentage, pumping up a lot of money to the local companies in China, like Alibaba. We saw the recent, what do you call that company that just come up out of nowhere and break everyone in the market from China? It was cheap something. Even Nvidia itself, they fell actually the earnings to get to that level of that company. It's because of China decided to pump stimulus packages to the company like Alibaba, company like that, companies like TikTok, all these companies so that they can have a better performance of revenue, better performance of what you call earnings per certain season, so that it can reflect the growth of the economy itself, and the growth of economy, it will translate to the growth of the GDP, and whereby they can remain on above 3% or 4% GDP economic growth. All right, but that was China. So the JP Morgan has just stated that we're going to remain for over 2 years, but we'll see how the budget is going to come out. Overall, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is navigating complex landscaping market by the stable market indices, currencies, fluctuations, corporate earnings report, and also cushion analysis outlook. I think that's it when it comes to Johannesburg Stock Exchange in terms of the report. And right now we want to check it out in terms of some of the countries in Southern Africa. As we said, we are in actually Africa market report. We just check it out in terms of the market of Africa and how the market is actually doing, and reference it with the articles that we find on the different platforms, and to trying to share to everyone. Zimbabwe inflation rises sharply, spurred by food and housing. So food and housing is actually the one that actually pushes the Zimbabwean dollar to actually gain in terms of percentage. Let me see again, is it gain or rises? Yeah, to actually gain in terms of the percentage. So when the inflation is rising, it's very bad. We always looking for inflation to actually deduct or to actually depreciate, because of once they start cutting that inflation percentage, that's where a lot of people can be able now to buy something. But again, before we go further with this article, I remember Zimbabwe launches Zimbabwean dollar that are backed by gold. Now after a couple of some time, it actually get banned because of I'm not sure really what is the reason why, but some of the articles, they were saying that it doesn't really gives the confidence to investors to say that they can come in ZIM. And some of the articles, they were saying that, well, although they launched the Zimbabwean dollar backed by gold, people, they're still using the US dollars. So what's the point to actually have that Zimbabwean dollar backed by gold on a frame range of quoting maybe to a dollar itself? But anyway, let's jump in terms of the Harare. Zimbabwe inflation rate rose sharply in January in both the US dollar and the local currencies terms, spurred by the food and housing pricing. In a dollar term, inflation accelerated to 14.6% year to year, rising by the 2.5% in December. On local currencies basis, inflation rose to 3.7% in December. What are the statistics saying? The statistics agent's date showed was on Tuesday. The independent economist Prosper Chitambara said last year several region drought and addition of taxes introducing this month had likely contributed to the inflation increase. It could be the new taxes that have taken affected this month. The huge cost in passes on to consumers before the next harvest season. We are likely to see an upwards trend of the inflation as a drought continues to exert inflationary pressure. That's what it says, Chitambara. In his last budget, Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube introduced a 0.5% tax on fast food, and as well as 10% tax on all sports betting proceedings, which took effect this month. Another independent economist, Tony Hawkins, said US dollar inflation had been grossly understated, and authorities in the Southern Africa countries were paying a catch-up. Zimbabwe launched a new gold backed by the currency in April last year, but it was sharply devalued in September, and foreign currencies like the US dollar are still used for the local transaction. So again, this is the story of ZIM in terms of the inflation. But again, you can hear on a story they're talking about the drought. There's a lot of drought that affects a lot of economy in Africa. Countries like Ghana, I remember last year they had a little bit of drought. Cocoa was not actually produced. That actually affects the price of chocolate in Europe. So the drought that affects us, they actually directly impacting our economy. But the question is, because of we understand and we know that there's a lot of drought, what exactly are we doing to fix that? Do we need a different type of agriculture system that can allow us to actually produce our product entirely without actually worried about the rain and so on? Or maybe some of the crops that we actually put that we actually plant, they cannot be able related to the overall of the whole year entire plantation of farming. So we don't know, but the solution has to be found in terms of how to solve the drought issue. Do we need to go back? Because I remember back in the days when we're in primary school or high school, they used to force us to plant trees everywhere. We had like planting tree a day where all students would go out, or kids getting a tree, trying to plant, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if do we need to go back to that. Our global globalization, is it changing? What can we be able to do to solve this issue? Because we can see that this issue is directly impacting the economy, and at the end of the day, the inflation of the economy is starting to depreciate. Once the inflation is depreciate, now there will be certain basis points that will be increased so that they can balance up with that economy. That's a lot of suffering. Again, we can hear some of the Chitambara, was it a minister Chitambara? It says that this is what has been affecting Southern Africa countries, that we are playing the catch up to a dollar, because the market has been really, really, really depreciating. I remember watching the other article that in Malawi, the currency itself was depreciating, way messed up, until people they start protesting, and then they actually cut a little bit of some 25 basis points or something like that to to balance it out. But it's still way messed up in terms of where it is right now. So I can agree with that, with Mr. Chitambara, to say that we are playing the catch up. And just to give you example, in terms of how we are playing the catch up, if you've been following the market during the COVID-19 and understand how many times the Federal Reserve of our banks in Africa has been cutting, they has been increasing the interest rate, right? We see month to month they were increasing with the 25 basis points, 50 basis points, 25 basis points. They actually increased it more than 2,000 basis points that been increased for that period for different countries, including South Africa and all these countries in Southern Africa, right? Now, once the table turned, COVID-19 is finished, is done, maybe not finished at all, but at least we have a little bit of relief. For whatever reasons, decided that we must go back to to open up the economy. United States, United Kingdom, China, and all these countries had already started to cut the interest rate, to start cutting the interest rate so that we can balance it up. So this is what exactly Mr. Chitambara says, that we are playing the catch up. We've been cutting the interest rate or increasing the interest rate for very long period of time, where we are very our interest rate is really high. To put it down that a lot of people can be able to afford, and to balance it up with a dollar, it's a challenge, because the dollar already has started to cut the interest rate with a little bit of 25 basis points, increase with the 25 basis points, put it in a pause, cut with the 50 basis points. They had the strategy, while us, we just cut increasing. So far, even considering with the South Africa, I only hear 2 times that the interest rate has been actually cut by 25 basis points. But considering where we're coming from, how many times the interest rate has been increased, and now we only witnessed twice, and we're gonna see this week how the budget is gonna go, and then the following week maybe Mr. Lisesha Khanyago to come up with, on a meeting to come up with maybe a cut of interest rate. But that's ZIM. That's what is affecting at ZIM at the moment. The interest rate has increased. I know a lot of product is going to be really, really expensive. And this is not helping, because what will happen is that if people realize that, no, man, things are expensive, people, they will start to move. They will start to leave and go look for a different spaces where they can be able to actually afford, or to get a little bit of money so that they can sustain themselves, right? But again, what are these African national congregations that the Africa Union, damn, passes my mind. Africa Union, there's a SADC there. What are these guys doing to help each other so that they can actually, increase or pump it up their actually, the economy, so that people cannot be able to displace and to go to leave their countries and go to different countries. But yeah, I mean, that's what happened in terms of the ZIM. We're going to try to check it out some other countries as well, how the market is going and what exactly is being affecting them, and maybe try to put 1, 2, 3 what we think about the solutions. All right. You still with us? You still with me, Che Yusuf, at the Daily Money Market, and this is the Africa Market Report. And we are actually looking at Africa market factors to actually watch, from the 28th of Jan up to now, which is going to be the first quarter of the market of Africa. So let's going all the way to see what are the global markets factors that we have to check it out. So on the Jan 28, the following companies announcing the schedule economic indicators, debt, currencies, market movers, and as well as political events may affect the Africa market. That was announced on Tuesday. The global market, the US stock futures stated the dollar ticked a high at the tech stocks in Asia slide on Tuesday, following a wave of selling as apparent advances by the Chinese AI startup cast doubt on US dominance and spending in on one of the market hottest sectors. So in terms of the global, the market is still not really stable in terms of the US dollar. We talked about that the market has, and the economists there, are insensitive in terms of putting money or investing in the US dollar, because of number of things, because of also they are waiting to see what will be the results in terms of the Federal Reserve when they come, Jeremy Powell, and as well as the tariff that Donald Trump is imposing to a number of countries. So that's what actually, when it comes to the global market itself, they are viewing with that, and with the trade war with China, as I said earlier, that how the Chinese, they actually pumping up the money to the different companies that are actually from China, including the AI startup cast, that actually dominated, even surpassed the revenue of Nvidia itself for the first quarter. Was it first quarter or last quarter of 2024? So when it comes to world of oil price, the oil price, they ticked up to both up it ticked it up, but however near to 2-week lower on Tuesday after weak economic data from China and warning weather forecasts elsewhere surrounded the demand of the outlook. I think because for the oil, there's a couple of reasons that actually I noticed. There's another reason that I noticed, that there's a big ship that burn in Pacific Ocean, and that's actually the route that most of the countries they take, they go to their oil and distribute it entire the world. So that can be a little bit of a challenge, delaying of distribution of oil from wherever it's coming from through Atlanta Ocean. So that's what I see. I think it's the biggest one as well. That one. And the other stuff that I check it out again, I see the oil, especially the US oil going all the way to $65 per barrel. You know, you know, I went to the garage and asked the guy there that, hey, my man, this week I saw, through even last week, since last week, I saw the oil dropping, losing momentum from 67, 68 to from 70, coming all the way to 65 per barrel. Why you guys, you still have the same price of, petrol or diesel at the same price? So he asked me questions. They said, "Well, Konje, what does a bellow mean?" Had to explain everything there. But anyway, but that's actually the world of oil. I think there's a lot of oil that is actually coming to US. That's why US oil is sitting at $65. And again, they're saying after a week of economic data from China and a warning weather forecast elsewhere also surrounded the demand of outlook of oil. So we're still in a good position when it comes to oil, $65 per barrel, good. But because of these factors, the wind, the warning weather, it might affect the price of oil going forward. South Africa market, South Africa rand, we already spoke about South Africa, slept on Monday ahead of the week packed with the domestic and international data released with an eyes set on interest rate decision from the Federal Reserve and the South African Reserve Bank. We talk about that we're waiting for the budget, and again, from waiting for a budget, we're going to wait for President Lesesha Kganyago to tell us in terms of the interest rate itself. Kenya market, Kenya's shilling was unchanged against the dollar on Monday. Data from London Stock Exchange Group showed that when it comes to Congo, Rwandan-backed rebels marched into eastern Congo, the largest city of Goma, on Monday, and the United Nations said they were supported by at least some irregular Rwandan troops in the west of escalation of long-running conflict from the more than a decade. That's another challenge that we're facing in terms of Africa, especially on Eastern Congo, or especially in Congo. It's a very, very touching topic, this one, because of us as South African, we have lost soldiers that they were there for peace protection in terms of protecting the areas like Goma, but there've been a lot of stories that comes that because of mines, Rwandan, they said they want, because of the Rwandans, they want the mines. Some they said no, the M23, they're actually the rivals M23. They were, Congolese. They had to be moved during the fight of Houthis and Tutsis. Now they want to come back and take back their land, or their great children. They want to come back and take back their parents' land. So there's a lot of things that is going on in Goma. And recently I actually heard from President Ramaphosa announcing in a parliament saying that they actually have agreed that they have to solve this via dialogue, and ceasefire must be maintained. But again, we can see Goma on Rwandan-backed rebels marched into eastern Congo, which is the largest city, Goma, on Monday. And the rebels, they already take this largest city, this Goma. So what I like most, what President Ramaphosa says, is that we need to combine all people to come together so that we can actually, have an agreement. So that means you need to bring the M23, you need to bring the Rwandese, you need to bring the Congolese, and to sit down together and have actually a dialogue and have the conversation. Because if the M23 rebels, and they're saying they're part of Congo, they were taken away or chased away during the wars of Houthis and Tutsis, that means they do have some certain right of staying to that space of Goma, or the area of Goma, or whatever the indigenous parents they are coming from. So The only way to solve it is the dialogue, is to have a dialogue, conversation, and to see where we can help each other in terms of that. I don't want to go into Rwanda because of these guys, they talk shit about our president, but anyway, I don't care. Ghana central bank left its main interest rate unchanged on Monday, saying that the inflation was expected to start falling again, and the detailed talks on the monetary policy were difficult before the new government publishes its economic policy. So Ghana has just elected the new president, and there are new policies. There's a lot of policy changing around Africa right now. I'm not sure where exactly it's gonna take us, because we already heard the story of Zimbabwe, that they actually changed the policies. They impose some certain taxes, to betting companies, to fast food. I mean, if you are increasing the fast food uh, industry in terms of the tax, now you are telling the fast food companies to not come in ZIM to invest or to open up those shops. Now you're already reducing the number of people that are working to those shops that can contribute to the economy, and again to your tax revenue. So it doesn't make sense to these people that they're trying to increase taxes without actually understanding or look with different spaces where they can be able to increase these taxes. All right, moving on, Sudan. Another space where it's been a horrible war all the time. After a week of weighing gains for the Sudanese army and allies in the capital, Khartoum, the leaders held turning point in the civil war. Speaking to reports from the inside the army main headquarters that had been besieged since April 2023. So we all know what's going on in terms of the Sudan. There's been a war, a civil war in Sudanese since 2023. Pretty much the fighting is between the government that is ruling and the former government that actually kicked out, or the vice president, forming different rivals or whatever, and fight each other, and that kills a lots of people, although a lot of people, they're not talking about the Sudanese. So recently I heard about this story that again, national dialogue, like what dialogue, like what President Ramaphosa said, that we need both parties to come together and actually make a decision when it comes to that issue. So both leaders, they met, and it looks like bit by bit we're gonna see a difference, a change when it comes to Sudan, and the Sudanese can now start living in peace and enjoy their country in peaceful and enjoy the growth of their economy. All right, lastly, the Africa Power, the several African National Committee on Monday committed on Monday to open up their electricity sector to attract the investors, aligning up homes of 3 million people currently lacking power in the next 6 years. So that's another story. And I heard also that there's a lot of small organizations that are being formed in terms of raising funds for Africa, that's good. There's infrastructure organization that formed to raise funds for infrastructure in Africa, identifying spaces where we can be able to invest. There's power and energy, a committee that been formed to raise fund in terms of power and energy. There's also, I don't know if there's AI. I think that's what we need to bring. We need to bring AI and technology, and again, we need to bring the market analysis so that we can empower people, especially young ones like us, about the market. We need to be up to, up on everything. Like that guy says, don't remove a mazaz, don't remove your shirts. You're gonna remove it at home. Like those youngsters that they're saying that. So we need to be up to date, man. We need to know, especially the market. It's crazy that the person who's selling gasoline at the garage, he doesn't know what a barrel is. Crazy things like that. Things like interest rate. Our parents, they don't know what's going on when it comes to interest rate. Some of the people, they don't know when it comes to VAT and how VAT is going to affect us. Even that 2% increase is how it's going to affect us. They don't know about that. So I think the topic of the day of every young person has to be AI and the global market. How is it going to affect or actually upgrade our country? That's it. AI and the global market, and how are they going to affect or upgrade our nation? So yeah, that's it when it comes to Africa Market Reports. All right, man. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and do what other guys says to do. The YouTubers. But again, my emphasis is that each and every young guys right now, we should be able to talk about AIs and the global market that will affect our country or that will upgrade our countries and economy. So AI and the global market is the only key, is the only, a new generation conversation. We should be able to understand these things. What are equities? What are the interest rates? How they affect us? What are VATs? How the VAT going to affect us? Things like that. I think is gonna empower our mind and to make a proper decisions when we even get to the voting polls. So thanks a lot. Keep tuning in. My name is Che Yusuf. Watch other videos. Keep subscribe and like. Thank you.